Yes, 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 yes. This is me, Hudson George, tonight. Doing another live, man. This is October month in Grenada. Historical month. Politics. Politics is citizens of Grenada business when the politics is internal or local. And even though the politics attract international attention, it still is us Grenadian politics, is we politics. So tonight my topic is the reasons why the Grenada Revolution Palace coup in 1983, October 1983, failed. Now the Palace coup is two groups of urban intellectual or self-claiming intellectual. Some of them are intellectuals. And some of them were educated. I won't call them intellectual those days. But they were educated. They outsmart a lot of people until October 19th, 1983. So tonight my topic is some reasons or factors why the regime, the Palace coup failed, where one group had to kill out the next group. It failed because the leaders of the revolution were not supposed to be the leaders of the revolution. A lot of them. Because revolution belongs to the people. It's not a group of people. So this is one reason why they fail. Now, Maurice Bishop was invited into the Jewel movement. He was not a founding member. Right? That's one. Two, Bishop brought in Code, Bernard Code, and Bernard Code brought his faction. Grassroots Grenadians didn't have that political insight. They thought everything was nice and dandy with Bishop and Code. So the common enemy was Eric Matthew Gary. They want him out. So people didn't see it that way. So on March 13th, 1979, the revolution succeeded because the Jewel movement people, the foundation of the revolution, the people came out and fight. Right? But 1 year after the revolution, Bishop and Code faction take the revolution. But Bishop was still the face of the revolution. Right? What happened to the Jewel boys? The Jewel boys, they all disappear. Who dead, who run, who still silent, and who in jail. Now, okay, if you build a house, and then after the house is built on a foundation, and other invitees into the house come and they start breaking up the pillars of the house, then the house is going to fall. You understand? It's common sense. You destroy the foundation. So, Maurice Bishop and Bernard Code, 1 year after the revolution, they destroy the foundation of the revolution. They get rid of the Jewel movement people. and turn it into an intellectual class thing with international support from socialist country with enough weapons to keep it quiet. But little Maurice Bishop knew he might like his city boys because he's a city boy too. He don't like no country people. The other fraction of the group, he was not the favorite. Bernard Code was the favorite. So he become the next victim. So the revolution fell. That's the next factor. And the reason why it fell again, the people who took over from the Jewel movement people, the Grenadian people didn't know them. They were not known nationwide or national-wide. They were a bunch of urbanites. They were not grassroots either. So they were not known. So Bishop gained his popularity from the Jewel movement. But these guys and them were not spokespeople on the platform during the Alliance party going up against Eric Matthew Gary in the general election. I think it was in 1976 was the election. I think so, 76. When was the election? 76. Yeah, so these guys and them, people didn't know them. So when they make the palace coup, he fell. Secondly, they had enemies international. They had a problem with the American. And once they kill each other, the Yankee come in. So they couldn't be successful. So, as we in October, I'll give you my little 2 cents. Now, we have to break away from socialist, left-wing academic analysis of the Grenada Revolution. When we're talking anti-imperialism, we're talking anti-imperialism. And not every time we have to blame the imperialists for our failure. We have to blame ourselves because those who led the palace coup in October 1983, they were selfish people. And people didn't like them because people don't know them. So people didn't like them. Right? So they failed. So now, what I think happened with this former PRG guys, politics become like a crime scene for them. You know when you do something bad, you want to get out, they cannot get out of politics. Because if they get out of politics, people go see them. Well, we all know that they're no good already. But if they shut them out, they go look like they are most of them, according to the law, they are criminals. So if they get rid of politics, they go become null and void. Nobody will pay attention to them. So to stay relevant, they act in politics. You understand? And most of them study law. Those who in a criminal record become lawyers, and those who are criminal record, they have law degree. You understand? So, as October man going now, you go hear the intellectuals coming up all kind of discourse about the Grenada Revolution and imperialism and this and that. What we need in Grenada is for people just come out and give their opinion. We don't need no intellectual discourse on that. Because you have some Caribbean scholars, some support Bernard Code, some support Maurice Bishop, and they go with their own stories. They could tell that to the international world, but they cannot tell us that to we Grenadian people, because we know better than that. And also, we hearing about a new political party might be established soon. And they call it the New Movement. There is no new political movement in Grenada. Grenada had two political movements before. Two. The Gary Gulp movement and the Jewel movement. There cannot be no other movement in politics again in Grenada, coming from former PRG guys who commit the worst crime in Grenada. So how they can commit a new movement? Because they damaged the Jewel movement. So how they going to make a new movement? The Jewel movement was grassroots people. You understand? So you were part of the PRG. You break it up, you and your group. So how are you going to come and make a new movement? You can't make a new movement. There is no new movement to make. And if ever there would be a new movement in Grenada, you have to come from what you call a grassroots source. There is no grassroots source. Also, to make a Paris coup d'etat, it is easier for soldiers in an army, that the army had to be very old. The army had to spend 20 years, 15 years before somebody make a overture. But the PRG was what? 1979 to 1983. It was too short for a Paris coup. You understand? The regime didn't last long enough to have a Paris coup. And as I said earlier, the PRG had problem with the US. You understand? So sometimes I think former PRG cadres who were part of the 1983 political coup d'etat and the bloodshed, I think they're crazy. They had no good. They need to check a psychiatric doctor for checkup. They need to talk to some psychologist, because there is no way for these people to come back in frontline politics and be successful. One, they've been known to the international community. Two, they don't have mass support. Three, using the old method of joining organization to hijack it to become popular, it wouldn't be easy like years ago. Because in the 70s, we were young and we didn't understand international politics and how trickery some people are to steal movement. But now everybody know. For example, these guys was in the NDC. They didn't wait. They get kicked out. They go in NNP. Well, when they go in NNP, the NNP leader knew who they were. So he was on top of the game with them. But they thought they were in the game. That's what I tell you, they're not smart. Because if they come out with the NDC before, and they didn't get what they want. When they go to the NNP now, the NNP man, he didn't give them just the same way. So now they say new movement, or you go have a new movement. Then again, as my good comrade Perry say, GBSS and PBC boys, the city boys, he call them petty bourgeois, Marxist Leninists. Okay. They won't make a movement. Do I expect them to go make a movement? And even though one of them in the city is the leader, if you school in Shaper, SAS, or I just use Shaper and SAS, or others, secondary school and high school in the outer parish, they won't make you deputy. You got to be a water boy for them. Right? Because they don't see people who don't school in what they call special elitist school in town. That what make it elite is colonialism. So how are they going to be inclusive? So you're going to say you're going to join Pedro new movement. Pedro will come in the country and laugh with you and maybe eat with you, but in the back of Pedro already, he don't see you as a rural Grenadian as equal with somebody from his parish or who went to school in town with him. Don't see you so. He might more smooth and come and laugh with you. But he don't think so. Morris didn't think, Bishop didn't think country people smart. Think they were a water boy too. Bonnet Code, same thing too, all of them. Now, we have a young government with a young leader, and he look like if a group of leftists have him like a puppet on a string. Man might be an intelligent man, but the dynamics of revolution, he don't understand it. So, the revolution, the palace coup couldn't work. Because the army wasn't old enough for a palace coup. And dreaming you could come back in politics again, it could be hard because too many people die, bloodshed, too many people get hurt already that can't come back again, you know. So, I don't know, you know. These rebel people, I don't know. I think they're suffering from, they need a psychologist to diagnose them. The political dream is over, but they don't think so. They're like hyenas. A lion beating up the hyena, but he's still coming back. They have no base, and they never had a base for the political thinking they have. So okay, they go line around that party in power. Now, I'll tell you the next thing again. NDC people, a real NDC is not a grassroots person. They might be bad people, but they're not grassroots people. Real NDC, some of them conservative. Some of them have a macho, a motto, work for what you have, they won't give you nothing for free. Right? So, they won't give you nothing for free. So, how you expect Dickney Mitchell expect to please co-NDC and still hanging out with rebel boys? That can't work. His is to expose in Maurice Bishop. There's people who are naive, but his is to expose. There is historical factors that go play against him on that one. So, as October 19 coming, we have to talk about the past, the history, and also we cannot wait on the intellectual to tell us the story, because intellectuals, the intellectual belongs to a class that they look at things from academic point of view. They don't get into the personality of people, the real objective part of it. They theorize. There is nothing to theorize about that. It's a history book. Just open it and look at it. So you might see the intellectual writing papers about the Grenadian Revolution, thing. That's why intellectuals suckle. But the real stories, you have to need people like Perry to tell the story. Or people like me and other people who willing to talk about the revolution and talk about it. It's not an academic discourse. It's a reality discourse. And I believe former PRG people are suffering where, you know, people on drugs and they can't get drugs and they want drugs. They miss the power and they think they could get back to power, but it is impossible. We can't come back in power. For example, if you look at in Suriname, Desai Bouterse come from the army, and he was a popular guy, and he had a grassroots support. After he died, I was reading a thing about him. Desai Bouterse born on a sugar plantation on the outside of Suriname. I mean, not Suriname, Paramaribo in Suriname. He's a Suriname, and he born on a sugar plantation just outside Paramaribo, and he had grassroots support. But the Orel and Maurice Bishop followers, who idol, Maurice on his idols, Bernard Gordon is his ideology, a kind of brainwash thing. They're not like Bouterse or Bouterse. Bouterse had a movement. Suriname boy, you know, grew up on a plantation. When he died, I watched his funeral. So the left in Grenada, they're not like that. So how they going to make a new movement? And those in exile, they don't exile. Those who love Western lifestyle, they live in America and Europe and they still talking socialism. Some of them can't even speak like me as a Grenadian. And I travel out of Grenada before them. I leave Grenada before them. And when I open my mouth, it's pro-Grenadian. They are all foreign accent. But they will support for our revolution. They are coming back and live in Grenada. So you, the young people, have to know that in Grenada. So politics come like a crime scene for those guys. So all what Perry does be saying is true. Perry said he was a young boy when the PRG was in power and the invasion. Well, as for me, I was a schoolboy when the Jewel movement was formed and started preaching. So I have a experience before Perry. And I have stories to tell about the revolution from the days of the military too. So those guys are just dreaming. Those things can come back. They need to see a psychologist. That can happen again, because if they come back with that, I have more stories to tell too. Now, okay. When those guys purged the army in 1980, did he overthrow Hudson Austin already? He didn't have no power. Because when they were planning to overthrow us from Paul's army back, one day Hudson Austin came there and he was a nice man and he knew they would overthrow us. And you could see the love on his face for us. But the media make him look bad. And also before he died, he do a little covering up too with certain things. But a lot of things he revealed. So, the soldier man who gave the command to do the shooting on October 19, he overthrew Hudson Austin in 1980 when they were purging the army. So, we don't need to have academic discourse on talking about that. So when Perry talking, we need more people like Perry to talk. And maybe we shouldn't wait in an intellectual discourse on the revolution right now. People who should, we have what you call social media, StreamYard, this, that. Couple of people could come up and just talk about it practically. you get in the vibes. So Deacon Mitchell, I don't understand that guy. I start being suspicious of Deacon Mitchell political behavior. I don't know if he's naive, but I more believe he's been used by people in, you see, up in the St. Paul's, Montjalou area, have a group of people that kind of have this PRG thing. And he seems to be leaning to the most Morris faction. But then again, he doesn't understand something. You can tell a Morris supporter from a Code supporter. You understand? So, the whole thing is, and then if you read Dr. Leonard Cox's book about the role of French Creole and coloreds in Grenada and St. Kitts society, St. Paul's and Montjalou was a place of that militia for Louis La Grenade against the Federal Revolution. So these people never incorporate with the grassroots people of Grenada. If you read the history, there were free blacks in St. Paul's and the Montjalou area. They used to hang people in the market square. So how they could be revolutionary when they are the ones who betrayed Julian Fedor. And these guys who call themselves revolutionary, when the British built GBSS school, the grammar school, they didn't build it for black guys like them to come to school. It was for the planter child, the white Grenadian. So after the white people fade away, these black guys like me, they start going to this school, GBSS, then the Catholic build the Jesuit school, PBC. Right? So they thought now they replaced the old colonial class. These guys and them, they even break the international Olympic rules. They run on mathematics. The schools with the most students in Grenada is GBSS and SAS. So let's say GBSS have 950 boys. Right? 950. Now, all boys. SAS have 475 boys and 475 girls. So start winning all the intercal. You know what they did? They instigate a kind of thing, and they use both government to do it, both NNP and NDC. And long I talk about that. What they do, they create a thing where if you don't win a medal, you could give you school points. So if SAS are 450 boys out of 900 students, and so boys run against boys. So SAS boys, 450 boys running against 900 GBSS boys. So GBSS could put in athlete in every race to bring in a point. You get it? Because they want to control. And then now, Anglican High now, which is supposed to be SAS sister school, they don't see it so, you know. They see Anglican High is a tongue people school, but Anglican High School in Tongue, the girls' high school, SAS in Grenville, St. Andrew's Anglican Secondary School, SAS, and Bishop College in Coup. These are Anglican High School. GBSS was built by the British, but he didn't come under the church name. So he could more identify as a, even though it wasn't built, because the Queen of England or the King of England, them is Anglican, them here the Anglican church. But they don't see it so. All they care about, we in tongue, we run things. So when I hear Perry talking anything, Islam people have to say that. This is what is revolutionary. To tell people what it is. You don't need to be talking academic thing about the revolution. The academic thing about the revolution is in the rum shop. The true story of Grenada. So, the reason why the revolution failed and it can't come back, those guys, they were not Jewish. They were Bonnet Court boys, MAP. And Bishop had favored them because he come out in those areas. They were Bonnet Court boys, they were not MAP, they were OL boys. Maurice was MAP, a small group. But Maurice didn't have a big following like a study group. So even though he favored them more than the Jewel boys, he was not their favorite. They didn't want him. So Dick Mitchell, I don't know what wrong in the head. Hey, he gotta be crazy. Because a real NDC supporters are not left-wingers. Some of them are very cheap people too. They might be bad people. But they have a little conservative way too. But the conservative way is not socialist conservatism. So where are we heading? These are the discourse. Anyway, this is me, Hudson George. I go on here. Them boy fail. This boy need to see a psychologist. They cannot come back. Because every time they try to come back, there is more bad stories about them will come out. So, politics become like a crime scene for them. They can't come back. The time gone. And they must realize they should throw in the towel. This is me, Hudson George. I come here. Till I come.